For Victims and Villains, my name is Josh, and today we are continuing on our coverage of Fantasia Festival. Now, this is probably one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do for Fantasia Festival, but I had a chance to sit down with Madison Iseman, Aaron Dominguez, Charlie Tahan, and writer-director, the legendary Chuck Russell, to talk about their brand new film, Witchboard, which is a reimagining of the late 80s cult classic of the same name. I hope you guys enjoy this one. And if you guys get a chance to check it out, comment below and let us know what you guys thought about the movie. My first question comes from goes to Chuck, then we'll go out to the rest of the cast. So the original film of first off, congratulations on this movie.
Did you see the film?
I have seen the film.
Great.
So the original film and its subsequent sequels, 2 and 3, featured the original Ouija board as it per the original one. But this one actually reimagines it as the pendulum board, and I'm kind of curious why you guys chose to go
That's
that route
really my
versus.
fault. I honestly, in researching legitimate mysticism, and dare I say the occult, I've always been fascinated with pendulum boards, in their mystical divination tool and just visually for film. I had no idea why I'd never seen that in a fantasy or a horror film. But it's a direct lineage. It really is the predecessor to the Ouija board. Pendulum, not to bore you, but pendulum boards were outlawed by the French Pope in the 1700s. This is all historical fact. And if people were found with a pendulum board, they could be burned at the stake. So it was a great tragedy and a big deal at the time. They created the divination tool, the Ouija board, because pendulum boards were so dangerous to have. So there's a lineage there. There's a lineage from the French part of the story to New Orleans. So it all ties together for me. And I thought, when I was approached about Witchboard, I thought, what if I did it with the original pendulum boards? And we had great fun doing it.
That's amazing. I had never actually seen one. I'd never actually known so I
There's a
learned
variety
something.
of them. There's a variety from ones that are very dark to ones that are astrological and more fanciful. So it's quite an art form, to be honest.
Was ours like a blend?
Notice I put a little angel on there just to make sure there was some balance.
So I guess for the rest of the cast, had you guys this is a two-part question, but had you guys ever actually used a witch board or like a Ouija board, anything along those lines prior to filming?
Yeah, no, I mean not in preparation for
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
but
to destroy his victims.
yeah. But yes, when I in my younger years, I dabbled a little bit with a Ouija boards a few times.
Did you ever talk to anything?
He's still talking right now.
Oh, yeah,
They're still talking to me right now.
Good answer, Charlie. They're telling them right now.
They are.
I never have. I've never really messed with one. I've seen some before. And I'm just I have a great deal and a great amount of respect for, whether it's the occult or just anything spiritually based.
That is wise. Beware, it's a real thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't mess with that stuff. It's a time like we thought about it and then everyone got scared and decided not to, which was probably smart.
So I think that answers my second question was before the film, if you guys hadn't actually used like a witch board, did you guys have to like take any classes or like have like any like history about
This
like
was our
learnings
master
about
class
it?
right here.
I had tried it and I had researched it, but I honor the spiritual world as a real thing. It's really, look at magic in this way. Human intention is much more powerful than people think. So that is the supernatural world. It's a big part of the supernatural world. While I think there are independent elements out there of good and evil that you can tap into, voodoo is the great example because you have to make a voodoo doll that looks like the person and leave it at their front door with a pin in the stomach for them to go, I think I have a stomach ache when they see it. It's all about human intention.
Why do you know so much about it?
I'll let you
Do you have
know
a voodoo
after.
doll
Yeah.
of all of us,
I'm
Jack?
working on your little, claymation style voodoo doll.
Well, he's also the co-writer, so he had to
Yes.
Yeah.
dive into a lot of this stuff. So I guess that with Chuck, to kind of also dive into a lot
Bad
more
thing to be an
of
expert on it.
No, it's not bad.
Sorry, go
uh
ahead.
so the Witchboard series as a whole, I mean, granted, this is the fourth film in the series, kind of operates more like an anthology, and I think this one in particular carries on that notion as well. It operates more like a anthology, kind of like a separate story with nods to the original. For the first time in the series, we are
That's very well put. Thank you.
thank you. For the first time in the series, we're also fleshing out the mythology, whereas it's kind of always been in passing of this world. Can you talk about the challenges of crafting a mythology that could shape the entire series moving forward? Should we see more installments?
Well, they call it world building now, but we've been doing it since silent film. So to me, the pendulum board suggests a portal to access not only other entities, but other places. So we have a lot of fun with a parallel storyline where this particular pendulum board was first created that interacts with the action in the present day. And these are things I've been wanting to try and film for a while that all came together when I realized I had the opportunity in Witchboard.
That's awesome. So my next question is gonna go to Charlie and Aaron here. So you guys play both of you guys characters in this movie play chefs on the verge of opening up a restaurant with friends, specifically a Creole one. Did you guys spend a lot of time in the Louisiana area prior to filming to kind of get a firm grasp on the culinary culture?
They're on this. They're on the spot. These guys were like they were cast at the last second. We like dragged them in, kicking and screaming
Have you
into the
been to
project.
New Orleans though?
No, I've never been before.
Never?
Never been. I'm
Wow.
sorry to disappoint, but
I've spent some time there. I was fortunate enough to kind of live there. I shot something there a long time ago, and I'd stay there for like maybe 2.5 months. So I felt like I got a good sense of the culture and the food. So I mean, and I myself am a fairly decent cook, like I would say. So I know my way around the kitchen. But as far as like doing homework for the movie, we didn't really have much time to fly
No,
to New Orleans
yeah.
and do much of that.
Yeah.
I would
But,
just defer to Chuck.
yeah.
I spent time there when I was with my younger sister when she had to go to the hospital there with some experts. So I was hanging out alone in New Orleans, wandering around, and it's a cool, spooky place. I couldn't resist using it in the story.
Yeah.
You, Madison.
No, it's one of my favorite cities. We go all the time. We go for Mardi Gras most years. I have a bunch
Really?
of, oh yeah.
Never told me this stuff.
Wait,
I
really? Yeah, we one of my friends does one of the big floats during Mardi Gras
Oh, cool.
every year, and we go and toss beads off the side of the float. Yeah, we spend a lot of time
It's a
in
very
New
unique
Orleans.
city.
Mhm.
And speaking of unique, our publication is something that's a little bit different than a lot of other publications you guys have probably interacted with on this press junket. We specifically dive into the core of the characters and specifically use art to talk about how the positive effects that it can have on mental health and the exploration of those characters. So
Feels like a responsibility. I hope I don't know how it affected the mental health of some young people that saw my early films. I apologize.
no, I grew up on your early films, so you're good. But my question is for Madison. There are a surprising number of things that your character endures throughout the duration of this film. Not going to spoil it here. I cannot advise if you're watching this or listening to this, go check out the movie. Whether it's your character's past or present, can you talk about finding the core of your character and the mental health of her?
Yeah, I mean, she goes on such a journey. I think you meet Emily at a time where life is finally looking up for her. She's a recovering addict. She's newly engaged. Life is great and happy. And then, but because of her addiction, she's very vulnerable to like other parts of the world. And I read something earlier today, and someone was like switching one addiction for another, which I thought was a really interesting way to put kind of what she goes through. But I mean, she's like, I feel like I just know Emily too her core, and this is kudos to you, Chuck. She's written so well and fleshed out, and I remember reading it for the first time, and you know, I mean, and like, I love you, Chuck. You're a man. You wrote a great female lead character. Like, it's amazing, and sometimes you just don't see it. But her journey, I think it's, you know, I think it's something a lot of people can relate to. Hopefully, not like the like witchy demon part of it, but
That is there.
but just her journey, you know, and like her finding her strength without spoiling anything. But like that is something she goes through to the end. And she's a tough cookie. She goes through a lot.
Madison went to that place on the set when she needed to, and which I will be forever grateful for. It's a fantastic performance.
Thanks, Chuck.
So my last question for you guys is coming into trends in the world of horror. The horror remakes are nothing new, though it's really rare that you find a cult classic like Witchboard being remade, with the exception of uh Macon Blair's The Toxic Avenger, which fingers crossed we will see sooner rather than later.
John
Uh
Carpenter's The Thing, David Cronenberg's The Fly. You
yeah.
know, these are a way of reinventing classic horror that still
Yeah.
resonates.
So my last question is for all four of you, is what is one thing you guys hope that audiences get out of this new chapter in the Witchboard saga?
I just hope that that old fans are very happy, and I think they most definitely will be. And I just hope people have a lot of fun and good scares.
I think I think Chuck is he's great at not only captivating your attention but keeping it right as a director. So I also hope, and it's a thing nowadays where like it's tough to entertain people at the movie theater. So I hope that people go and watch this movie with the intention to be entertained, and then obviously carry it through, because they will be. So I hope that that's ultimately what it is, because I feel like that's what films are missing sometimes nowadays, is like the entertainment part of it. So
Also, this film is just so nostalgic of like the old classic camp, and you know, and I think that's just something we haven't seen recently. That was one of my favorite things about it. So maybe it'll take you back.
Well, look,
Good old days.
for me, it's all about thrilling the audience and scaring the hell out of them while entertaining them. And that's been my style, my first two horror films. And for me, this is sort of a completion of a kind of trilogy of horror experiments with classic pop culture films.
Well, excellent. Charlie, Aaron, Chuck, and Madison, thank you guys for your time. Once again,
Yeah.
congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
film.
Great questions.
Thank you. If you guys haven't seen Witchboard, keep your eye out for it and check it out. It's a good movie.